Good evening and Salam Malaysia Madani. You're watching News at 10 with me, Brendan Lepore. Our top stories tonight. Consensus in unity government ensures political stability. And also, Rahman initiative might be expanded to involve corporate and banking sector. The consensus reached among party leaders of the unity government allows the government to generate economic growth that guarantees the well-being of the people as well as create political stability. Yang di-Pertuan Agong Al-Sultan Abdullah Riyatuddin Al-Mustafa Billah Shah said it was in line with his desire to see a stable and strong government formation. In congratulating Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim for being appointed as the 10th Prime Minister and the cabinet members of the unity government on their appointment, His Majesty urged all parties to open their hearts and accept and respect the results of the 15th General Election G15.
Kerajaan Berita boleh menumpukan daya usaha untuk memperkuatkan tekad bagi menjamin kestabilan politik dan menjana pertumbuhan ekonomi yang akan menjamin kesejahteraan rakyat Berita. Dan Berita menghargai pengenalan inisiatif negara madani yang merangkumi aspek-aspek kemampanan, kesejahteraan, daya cipta, hormat, keyakinan, ihsan dan rahmah. Besar harapan Berita agar prinsip-prinsip tersebut diterjemahkan dengan baik dalam kerangka untuk mencipta lonjakan buat negara.
Al-Sultan Abdullah said in his royal address when opening the second session of the 15th Parliament today. His Majesty also appreciated the government's commitment and determination to eliminate corruption by focusing on aspects of procurement, enforcement and large-scale corruption to cultivate integrity and strengthen the country's governance. Al-Sultan Abdullah Riyatuddin Al-Mustafa Billah Shah has expressed hope that Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim will be the last leader to be appointed as Malaysia's Prime Minister during his reign as Yang di-Pertuan Agong. Al-Sultan Abdullah said since holding office on 31st January 2019, he had shouldered heavy responsibilities to select and appoint 4 different Prime Ministers, starting with the 7th Prime Minister, Tun Dr. Mahathir Mohamad, followed by Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin, Datuk Sri Ismail Sabri Yaakob and Datuk Sri Anwar. Elaborating, the King said he had no intention of interfering in the country's political affairs or arranging the political landscape.
Pada pengamatan Berita secara peribadi, jika episod yang membawa kepada peletakan jawatan Perdana Menteri ke-7 tidak berlaku, nescaya rentaian kemelut politik yang berlarutan sehingga kepada pilihan raya umum ke-15 juga akan dapat dielakkan. Lebih penting lagi, kemelut politik yang membelenggu negara hampir 4 tahun lamanya boleh dielakkan jika sekiranya semua ahli-ahli yang berhormat dan para ahli politik negara bersedia untuk mengenepikan perbezaan.
Al-Sultan Abdullah said that if diversity and political issues continue to cause conflicts and division, he fears that the desired peace and progress will not become a reality. The implementation of national policies and initiatives such as the new investment policy based on the national investment aspirations will drive the nation's economy and achieve its targets. Yang di-Pertuan Agong Al-Sultan Abdullah Riyatuddin Al-Mustafa Billah Shah said socio-economic development programs such as the Economic Empowerment Agenda, digitalization and technology adoption, entrepreneurship and human capital development are vital to boost economic growth. At the same time, the Yang di-Pertuan Agong said the unity government should continue its efforts to achieve the zero hardcore poverty target by 2025, in line with the first Sustainable Development Goals indicator, which is zero poverty.
Industri yang strategik berimpak tinggi seperti teknologi hijau dan kenderaan elektrik perlu terus diteroka bagi mencipta aliran pendapatan negara yang baru. Dalam mendepani cabaran agenda pelestarian alam sekitar, Kerajaan Berita telah memperkenalkan Agenda Nasional Transformasi Sektor Air 2040 bagi menjamin kemampanannya.
Elaborating further, the Yang di-Pertuan Agong said that the government will also focus on the reform agenda to strengthen Malaysia's competitiveness in becoming the destination of choice for investments. The government is considering to expand the Rahman Menu initiative not only in the food industry but also to involve the corporate and banking sectors. Domestic Trade and Cost of Living Minister Datuk Seri Salahuddin Ayub said the government received a lot of positive feedback on the initiative through engagement sessions with food and cloths industry operators, and he believed that it would be the same with the corporate and banking sectors. He said that his ministry still had a period of 4 months to conduct engagement sessions with the corporate and banking sectors.
Kita pergi nanti kepada sektor-sektor korporat yang lebih besar, Petronas sebagai contoh, Saim Dabi, GLCs dan juga bank-bank. Saya yakin lebih banyak lagi mereka ini ataupun syarikat-syarikat ini yang akan tampil untuk membantu menangani kos sara hidup ini.
He said this after officiating the Rahman Menu by the Muslim Restaurant Owners Association Malaysia at Stadium Nasi Kandar Restaurant in Kuala Lumpur in the presence of Deputy Domestic Trade and Cost of Living Minister Fuzia Saleh. The Rahman Menu initiative, which offers meals at RM5 and below, was launched in January as a government effort to reduce living costs. The EduCare Back to School 2023 program is timely assistance for 1,000 needy students from 21 schools statewide through the Pulau Pinang Governors Charity Foundation, Yayasan Amal TYTPP this year. His Chief Executive Officer, Datuk Seri Rosali Muhammad, said the EduCare Back to School 2023 program worth RM250,000 was expedited to ease the burden on families in providing schooling essentials for their children. He said each student involved received a voucher worth RM250. They can use the voucher to buy school supplies such as 2 sets of school uniforms, shoes, socks, bags, stationery and equipment to go to school.
Mereka boleh menunaikan ataupun mereka boleh menggunakan voucher tersebut di 6 cawangan Maidin, iaitu di kawasan wilayah utara. Mudah bagi ibu bapa, mudah juga bagi pelajar. Kerana apabila mereka bercuti sekolah, mereka balik kampung, mereka tak perlu datang balik ke Pulau Pinang, mereka boleh beli di Maidin cawangan-cawangan yang berdekatan, yang ada di Kedah, yang ada di Pulau Pinang, yang ada juga di Perak. Jumlah pelajar yang terlibat adalah 1,000 pelajar daripada semua bangsa.
He said this after handing over the assistance to 80 students from the B40 group in a ceremony graced by Pulau Pinang Yang di-Pertuan Negeri Tun Ahmad Fauzi Abdul Razak at Maidin, Bertam today. Students met at the event said the assistance will help them in buying complete school supplies.
Rasa gembiralah dapat ni, boleh pakai nanti darjah 6. Terima kasih. Perasaan gembira lah dapat baju tu dengan sumbangan duit.
Saya sangat bangga kerana ada memakai baju sekolah. Saya pun sangat gembira.
Now, the Malacca government will establish the Malacca Talent Corp MTC as a pool to gather experts in various fields, especially among the Malacca-born, to optimize their expertise. Chief Minister Datuk Seri Sulaiman Mat Ali said they would be the think tanks for the state's development and progress. Commenting further, Datuk Sri Sulaiman said the effort to establish MTC is in line with the Madani agenda initiated by Prime Minister Datuk Sri Anwar Ibrahim, which is to fulfill the potential of the people.
Mereka talent corp yang saya cadangkan ini, yang itu ada jawatan kuasa di sini. Saya sebut ini tadi untuk mereka boleh menyumbang bakti idea-idea bagaimana Melaka ini boleh dapat kita majukan supaya kita tidak ketinggalan dan kita juga standing dengan negeri-negeri maju yang terdapat di dalam negara kita.
He said this to reporters after attending the state government's monthly assembly today. Elaborating further on the matter, Datuk Sri Sulaiman said he had identified more than 10 Malacca youngsters who are experts in their respective fields, who would be invited to join MTC. And in other news, a police corporal was charged in the Kota Baru Sessions Court today with 2 counts of smuggling 29 Myanmar migrants last January. No plea was recorded from Syed Shaiful Amri Syed Solihuddin, 38, after the charges against him were read out before Judge Muhammad Zulkifli Zulkifli, as the case was under the High Court's jurisdiction. On the first count, he was charged with smuggling 13 Myanmar nationals comprising 7 men and 6 women in a Daihatsu Grand Max type motor van in front of the Kelantan Malaysian Fire and Rescue Department headquarters, Tunjong, Kota Baru at 1:30 a.m. on 16 January. On the second count, Syed Shaiful Amri was accused of smuggling 15 men and a woman from Myanmar at a homestay in Jalan Pintu Gang Hulu, Kota Baru at 9:45 a.m. on the same date. The charges were framed under Section 26B, subsection D of the Anti-Trafficking in Persons and Anti-Smuggling of Migrants Act 2007, an offence under the Security Offences Special Measures Act 2012, which carries a minimum sentence of 5 years in jail or life imprisonment and whipping if convicted. Deputy Public Prosecutor Nur Shafiqah Muhammad, while the accused was unrepresented. Nearly a week after devastating quake, death toll keeps rising. That and more coming up in our foreign segment. But first, China's lifting of travel restrictions has pushed many countries to attract Chinese travelers. One of them is Sri Lanka. The island country expects Chinese tourists to arrive in the new year alongside strengthened cooperation with China, and Sri Lanka is among the countries included in the pilot program. Anura Fernando, the country's consul general in Shanghai, said although Chinese tourists now have low interest in travelling to Sri Lanka, he expected Sri Lanka will welcome about 1 million Chinese visitors this year.
We are expecting them to come back to us soon. Particular interest has been to other countries which are closer to China, most probably because people haven't traveled for 3 years out of China, so they are looking at closer destinations. But I think Sri Lanka should be attractive to most Chinese travelers.
China is Sri Lanka's largest trading partner and largest source of external investment. Looking ahead, Fernando said he hopes the two countries will sign the free trade agreement this year for strengthening the bilateral trade ties. The Port City Colombo project, located near the capital's central business district, is a large-scale investment project jointly developed by the China Harbour Engineering Company and the Sri Lankan government. It is regarded as a model of cooperation between China and Sri Lanka in jointly building the Belt and Road Initiative. Fernando stressed that more BRI projects are underway in Sri Lanka. China should restrain its forces so that they do not commit any provocative act, the Philippine military said today, after Manila accused China's Coast Guard of using a laser to try to disrupt a resupply mission to its troops in the South China Sea. The Philippine Coast Guard PCG said its vessel was assisting a Navy mission to deliver food and supplies to troops stationed on an atoll in the disputed waterway on 6 February, when a Chinese Coast Guard ship directed a military-grade laser at the ship, temporarily blinding its crew at the bridge. The incident took place at the second Thomas Shoal, 105 nautical miles off the Philippine province of Palawan, which is the temporary home of a small contingent of military aboard a rusty ship. The 100-meter-long World War II ship was intentionally grounded at the shoal, known locally as Ayungin in Night Waterway. A young girl was pulled from the ruins of a collapsed building in Turkey 150 hours after earthquakes hit Turkey and Syria. But such scenes are becoming rare as the number of dead climbs relentlessly. The toll in both countries rose to nearly 34,000 today, 7 days after the initial 7.8 magnitude quake. A United Nations agency said the deadliest quake in Turkey since 1939 has killed 29,605 people there, while more than 4,300 people were reported dead and 7,600 injured in northwest Syria as of yesterday. The quake is now the sixth most deadly natural disaster this century, behind the 2005 tremor that killed at least 73,000 in Pakistan. The overwhelming scale of the disaster has been met with a trickle of help from the international community, who have donated money but sent little physical aid and none of the heavy equipment required to save lives in the week since the quake. Turkey said on Sunday about 80,000 people were in hospital and more than 1 million in temporary shelters. The Syrian city of Jable, meanwhile, is one of the areas hit hard by the major earthquake that claimed the lives of thousands and destroyed swathes of the country's north. A municipal officer in the quake-ravaged Syrian town of Aleppo, meanwhile, has called for sanctions against Syria to be lifted immediately, with the country in urgent need of assistance after last Monday's earthquakes killed thousands and left tens of thousands without shelter. The US, the EU and the Arab League, among others, have imposed sanctions on Syria for more than a decade in response to Syria's long-running civil war.
حاليا في حالات إسعافية. هذا البناء محضرين فيه 40 عائلة مؤلفة، يعني شي 280 شخص في هذول البنايتين، والناس كلها بركة بالحديقة. نحن في حاجة برفع عنا العقوبات من أجل الأعمار. هدول من يقويهم؟ الحدايا تقويهم ولا الجوامع والكنائس؟ يوم يومين ثلاثة. نحن في حاجة رفع عنا القرار الجائر الأمريكي برفع الحصار كلي ليس جزئي.
The US announced last week that it was suspending some sanctions for 180 days in response to the humanitarian disaster. Thousands of buildings in Aleppo collapsed during last week's earthquakes, with rescue crews now in the process of demolishing buildings badly damaged in the quake, amid fears that residents might try to return to retrieve belongings from buildings at immediate risk of collapse. Authorities in Aleppo have so far evaluated the condition of some 600 buildings in the town and torn down 13 which were at risk of collapsing. This has exacerbated the humanitarian crisis, with residents unable to return to their homes and forced to seek shelter from bitter winter weather elsewhere. During presidential elections in Uganda, big cities typically teem with soldiers, police and even non-uniform security personnel, toting guns and tear-gassing and baton-whipping people protesting alleged poll malpractices. The clashes, the opposition and rights activists say, often involve widespread rights violations, including torture, extrajudicial killings, illegal detentions, abductions and others. Now, a move by the government to chase the UN Human Rights Office, opposition leaders and rights defenders say is highlighting Uganda's worsening human rights record. The government said in a letter to OHCHR this month that the UN presence was no longer necessary because of the progress it made in developing domestic capacity to monitor human rights compliance, including the emergence of a strong civil society. Critics of the government of President Yoweri Museveni, who has been in power since 1989, begged to differ. During the last presidential election in January 2021, in which Wine finished runner-up to Museveni, gun-toting security officers, tear-gassed and baton-whipped people protesting brutality by security forces. Wine, who alleged the final result was massively rigged, was arrested several times during the campaign. Okello Oryem, State Minister for Foreign Affairs, told Reuters the UN Rights Office had come to Uganda to monitor rights violations during the war in the country's north, which ended nearly 2 decades ago. Livingstone Sewanyana, who heads Uganda Human Rights Foundation, also rejected government's justification for closure of the office. Sports must be free from any racial and political elements. All this and more next in Sports. Youth and Sports Minister Hannah Yeoh has strongly condemned the racial and religious remarks made by a former Badminton Association of Malaysia, BAM, backup player on social media recently. Although the former player has since apologized, Hannah totally disagreed with the remarks made by the individual who was under the auspices of BAM in 2014 and is now reportedly not residing in Malaysia. Accordingly, the minister once again reiterated her stand that sports must be free from any racial and political elements. The former player claimed in the video that the performance of the national players at the Malaysian Open 2023 was not up to the mark because BAM was managed by Malays, besides touching on the sensitivities of Muslims. Meanwhile, BAM in a Facebook post today also condemned the disgusting racing comments posted by the former player, who is apparently coaching in China at the moment. BAM stated that they were absolutely appalled and will pursue the issue, including sending an official complaint to the Chinese Badminton Association, CBA, and urged them to take necessary action against the individual. Badminton Association of Malaysia, BAM, doubles coaching director Rasmi has not ruled out the possibility of fielding Scratch men's pairs at the 2023 Badminton Asia Mixed Team Badminton Championship BAMTC in Dubai, United Arab Emirates, UAE, which opens tomorrow. However, he said that it is necessary to see the level of readiness and condition of the players first before making such a decision. Malaysia are betting on defending world men's doubles champion Aaron Chia Soboyik and the professional pair currently ranked 8 in the world, Ong Yu Sin, Teo Yi Yi. Rexy previously had paired up Aaron Yi during the 2022 Thomas Cup in Bangkok. The decision by the former Indonesian men's doubles ace paid off when Aaron Yi contributed the winning point to beat Japan 3-2 by defeating Akira Koga, Yuta Watanabe 22-20, 21-17. They also beat Krishna Prasad Garaga, Vishnuvardhan Panjalan 21-19, 21-17 when the national squad were eliminated by India 3-2 in the quarterfinals. Malaysia, who was seated 4th in Dubai, are drawn in Group B along with India, Kazakhstan and the hosts. Malaysia have not won the tournament so far, having lost in the quarterfinals in the first edition in 2017 in Hanoi, Vietnam, and again at the same stage in the 2019 edition in Hong Kong. In track and field, sprinter Mohammad Azim Fahmi seems to be making the right strides in the United States. And if he keeps his progress consistent, he can dip below 10 seconds as soon as next year in the 100 meters. The 18-year-old Auburn University athlete continued to set the college scene alight when he rewrote his indoor 60-meter national record by clocking 6.62 seconds to finish 5th in the final of the Tiger Paw Invitational at Clemson University in South Carolina on Saturday. American sprinter and Olympian Trayvon Bromell finished first with a time of 6.42 seconds, while Marcellus Moore took second with 6.52 seconds. Sterling Warner Savage completed the podium by finishing third with a time of 6.59 seconds. On 28 January, Azim clocked 6.63 seconds in the first round of the Texas Tech Open at Maltese at the Texas Tech Sports Performance Center in Lubbock, Texas. Although he didn't win a medal, Azim is happy to have broken his records. Azim coach back home, Amir Izwan Tan Abdullah, was delighted with the progress that he was making and believed a sub-10 could happen earlier than expected in the 100 meters. He holds the national record with 10.09 seconds posted at the World Junior Championships in Cali, Colombia last year. The Terengganu ladies hockey team TLHT opened their Malaysia Hockey League MHL campaign in style by whipping Mutiara Impian 4-0 at the Kuala Terengganu City Council Stadium MBKT yesterday. TLHT dominated the proceedings right from the start and continued to hold the upper hand throughout the 60 minutes of play. In the first quarter, TLHT were awarded 5 penalty corners but failed to convert any. However, in the 22nd minute, TLHT, spearheaded by a number of national players, opened their accounts through Fazila Sylvester Silin and made it 2-0 just 2 minutes later through Nur Atira Muhammad Ismail. Trailing 2-0, the side from Pulau Pinang tried to force its way back into the match, but TLHT continued to mount attack after attack, and in the 39th minute, Fazila once again hit the target, converting a penalty corner attempt. Despite leading 3-0, TLHT did not slow down the pace, and in the 47th minute, Nur Shafiqa Muhammad Zain piled the misery for Mutiara Impian with a 4th goal from yet another penalty corner. There is no need for national women's hockey player Hanis Nadia On to submit an appeal over the suspension imposed on her. Malaysian Hockey Confederation MHC President Datuk Sri Subhan Kamal said the 26-year-old athlete needed to go through the suspension process as a professional, and it would only serve to help the player discipline herself. According to Datuk Sri Subhan, any appeal process involving an athlete must go through the parent body of the respective sports association, and any decision on the matter will have to be discussed with the National Sports Council (MSN) and the Ministry of Youth and Sports (KBS). On 9th of February, an investigation committee of the MSN and MHC made the decision to suspend Hanis Nadia, barring her from representing the national team at the 2023 SEA Games in Cambodia. The decision was made with regard to the player's alleged racial slur in connection with the concert by Indian singer and composer A.R. Rahman in the capital last month. Prior to this, Youth and Sports Minister Hannah Yeoh said that the 2016 Asian Player of the Year could submit an appeal to MSN Director General Dato' Ahmad Shapawi Ismail and Subhan. And that wraps up news at 10. In our top story, consensus in unity government ensures political stability. Join us again at 12:30 tomorrow afternoon for the updates at noon on TV2. Till then, it's lights out. I'm Brendan Paul. Have a fantastic day. Good night.